Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's pick a card reading is all about what your next big blessing is. There are 3 piles for you to choose from. From left to right we have pile 1, 2, and then 3. If you feel drawn to more than one pile, there may be messages for you in both. You'll find the timestamps in the description below. Take your time, and when you're ready, jump into your reading. Hello pile 1, welcome to your reading. Let's jump right into it. Your next blessing begins with validation, real, visible recognition. Whether you've been quietly working hard behind the scenes, showing up for others without much acknowledgement, or simply keeping your head down and doing the inner work, something is about to shift. The energy here is about being seen, not in a surface level way, but in a soul-affirming one. You're going to be acknowledged for the things you've carried, not just your achievements, but the way you've persevered through difficult, thankless moments. This blessing doesn't just boost your confidence, it restores balance. Because you've given a lot of energy without always receiving the same back. The reward coming in now is about equity. You're not being handed something you didn't earn, you're being elevated into the space you've long deserved to occupy. That recognition could come through your work, your creativity, your emotional support to others, anywhere you've consistently shown up without needing applause. And with that recognition comes healing. Because finally being seen for who you are and what you've carried, it softens something inside. It allows you to stop proving, stop defending, and just receive. It's a huge energetic shift, and one that ripples outwards in ways you might not even seen yet. This blessing is also tied to clarity, or more specifically, the end of confusion. You've been sitting in a space where the options have felt endless, overwhelming, or maybe even deceptive. So many paths, but not enough certainty. This next chapter brings the gift of discernment. You'll be able to see clearly what aligns, what's illusion, and what's truly worth your emotional energy. That internal compass sharpens, and it changes everything. If you've been struggling with decision-making or unsure which way to go, that fog is lifting. The right opportunity or insight will arrive, and you won't have to second-guess it. This is your blessing, the gift of knowing. Of finally feeling like your inner yes and your outer reality are in sync. That kind of alignment brings not just clarity, it brings momentum. And there's more to this card. Someone may also be offering you something soon. Maybe more than one offer. Whether it's in love, work, or spiritual growth, you'll be given choices. But instead of spinning out, you'll feel grounded. You know what's for you. That certainty, that's the blessing. Now here's the shadow you've been working through. And why this blessing is showing up now. You've experienced betrayal, secrecy, or just that quiet undercurrent of not being able to trust what's around you. Maybe people underestimated you, maybe someone took advantage of your openness. Whatever it was, it left you guarded, not closed, but cautious. This next blessing actually restores your ability to trust yourself, even in spaces where trust was once broken. The energy here says you're learning to move wisely, with strategy, with observation, and without losing your heart. You're not becoming hardened, you're becoming aware. That's the key. The blessing isn't just being protected from deception, it's becoming your own best advocate. You no longer hand over your energy blindly, and that discernment is attracting situations and people that respect your boundaries and depth. So while this card can look heavy, it's actually showing a moment where your awareness becomes your superpower. You won't be fooled again, and that means your energy is free to flow towards things that actually nourish you. You've walked through scarcity, not just financially, but emotionally. This blessing marks the end of that drought. Where you once felt overlooked, unsupported, or even left behind, a shift is coming, and it's not a handout, it's a hand reaching back for you. You're about to receive something that tells you you're not alone anymore. That could be help, love, money, or even just a presence that makes you feel held again. What's powerful about this moment is that it brings repair to something foundational. The energy of lack doesn't just disappear, it's healed. You'll notice it in your self-worth first. That quiet voice that says, I'm always on the outside, or I have to do this alone, it starts to fade. That's the blessing. You stop being defined by survival mode and start stepping into receiving mode. And the beauty here is that this blessing also shifts your outer world. Resources begin flowing again. Support shows up, the path forward gets brighter, not because everything's fixed overnight, but because the energy of abandonment is no longer steering the wheel. Here's where the blessing becomes tangible. This is energetic balance being restored. You're about to receive in proportion to what you've given, possibly for the first time in a long time. Someone may step in to offer help, an opportunity, or even emotional support. But it's not charity, it's balance. This is the moment where the universe says, you haven't been forgotten, you've been building credit, and now it's time to cash in. This card also suggests financial or material improvement. That could look like a raise, a debt being paid off, a gift, or simply more stability in your day-to-day life. But even deeper than the money is the shift in dynamic. You're no longer overextending. You're learning how to receive with grace and without guilt. And that receiving, it opens the door to even more giving, but from a place of fullness. You're not meant to pour from an empty cup. You're meant to overflow. This next blessing fills your cup and then some. And finally, emotional restoration. You're stepping into a phase where your heart feels safe again. This is a blessing of deep emotional nourishment, not just being loved, but being understood. Someone may come into your life who reflects your depth back to you, or this could be your own emotional self finally being prioritized, honored, and held. This energy also speaks to intuitive alignment. Your inner knowing is coming back online in a stronger, more loving way. You won't need to chase clarity. It'll flow through you through stillness, reflection, and trust. Your sensitivity isn't a burden, it's becoming your guide. And as you honor that, life becomes softer, richer, and more connected. So what's the blessing? It's being fully in tune with your emotional world, not overwhelmed by it, but held by it. The Queen of Cups brings love, support, and softness, all things you deserve more of, and now they're finally arriving. So what's your next big blessing? Clarity, recognition, and emotional balance. The end of being overlooked and the beginning of being seen, fully, deeply, and finally, in the way you've always deserved. So that's what I'm getting for pile 1. If this resonated for you, please let me know in the comments, and of course, like and subscribe. See you next time. Hello, pile 2. Welcome to your reading. Let's jump right into it. The energy surrounding you right now is intense, but it's also purposeful. You're in the middle of a transformation, and not just in the poetic sense. This is real, tangible change. You're being peeled back layer by layer, not because you failed, but because your current version has outlived its purpose. And with that shedding comes discomfort, but what's on the other side is powerful. The blessing coming in for you isn't something you're handed, it's something you become. This next phase strips away the parts of you that were built for survival, not alignment, and you're going to start feeling it everywhere, in the way you speak, what you tolerate, and even the way your energy reacts to certain people or spaces. Transformation always asks something of us, but in your case, it's not just asking, it's activating. You're stepping into a new frequency, and with that comes new blessings, the kind that match this evolved version of you. And here's the shift. Once this transformation is integrated, your external world begins to reflect it back. People start responding to you differently. Opportunities that used to slip past you now find their way in. Why? Because you've stopped shrinking to meet the room and started expanding into your actual space. This blessing begins with surrender. You've been in a battle, maybe with others, maybe with yourself, trying to defend your space, your worth, and your direction. But the fight is ending, not because you're giving up, but because you're learning that not every hill is worth dying on. The gift here is the realization that peace is more powerful than proving, and that shift alone will change everything. You're stepping away from the need to constantly be on guard, to constantly justify your decisions, and that's exhausting, and it's time to let it go. This doesn't mean you're becoming passive, it means you're becoming wise. You no longer waste your energy trying to convince people who were never ready to hear you. Your power now comes from discernment, not defense. That internal surrender opens the door to ease. You'll start noticing things fall into place, not because you forced them, but because you finally stopped resisting the current that was trying to carry you somewhere better. That's your first big blessing, the relief of no longer needing to fight for what's already yours. This card highlights a major internal reset in how you show up in the world. You've carried a lot of pressure to lead and to inspire and to make things happen, often on your own. But this reversal suggests a blessing in releasing that pressure. You don't have to be on all the time. You don't have to have the perfect plan. You're being allowed to take a step back and reconnect with your why, not just your results. For some, this card could signal a specific person whose energy has been overbearing, someone who's taken up space or challenged your confidence. The blessing is in reclaiming your own fire without needing to dominate or compete. You're finding leadership on your terms now. It's less about pushing and more about attracting, less about control and more about presence. And as you let go of the need to lead in the way that you used to, new confidence rises, the kind that doesn't need to announce itself. You become the kind of person who leads just by being, not by performing. That quiet self-assurance, that's the magnetism that pulls in the next chapter of your success. Now, let's talk about pacing. Things have felt slow, maybe even stuck. Delays, silence, or a frustrating lack of progress in areas you've been pushing for. But this card tells me the blessing here is in the pause. The delay isn't denial, it's alignment. Something wasn't ready yet. Maybe timing, maybe you, maybe the thing you were reaching for. What's beautiful is that this stall is protective. If things had moved forward too fast, you might have built something on an unstable foundation. But now, with this pause, you're given space to reassess. Not just your direction, but your desires. You're being given the gift of clear movement over chaotic momentum. That's a massive shift. And when things start moving again, which they will, it'll happen in a way that feels like flow, not friction. The blessing isn't just things moving again, it's the way they move in a way that actually serves your highest path. That kind of divine timing is always worth the wait. And here it is, the breakthrough, the moment of crystal clear insight that changes everything. This card arrives as a blessing of truth, clarity, and mental sharpness. If you felt foggy, uncertain, or disconnected from your purpose, that's about to shift. A conversation, a decision, or a sudden inner knowing is going to cut through the confusion and point you towards your next step, with confidence. This could also be news or an opportunity that arrives seemingly out of nowhere, giving you the green light you've been waiting for. It may feel like things have been in limbo forever, and then suddenly, clarity. Movement, a sharp, undeniable yes. This is the power of this card. It doesn't whisper, it declares. This moment marks the end of waiting and the beginning of knowing. You'll no longer need to ask, am I doing the right thing? Because your intuition and logic will finally be in sync. And from that place, your voice gets stronger, your choices get clearer, and your path opens wide. The final blessing is balance, real, grounded, soul-deep balance. This isn't just about having your emotions under control, it's about alignment in your entire life. Work, relationships, healing, purpose, all beginning to flow in harmony. This card is a reminder that your next chapter doesn't require extremes, it requires rhythm, and you're finally finding yours. There's also a deep healing attached to this card, not dramatic, but very subtle. It happens in the small moments, in the way you speak to yourself, in the way you respond instead of react, in the way your body finally starts to relax again because it knows it's safe. That kind of inner peace, it's not just a blessing, it's the foundation for everything else you're building. And what's incredible is how this balance becomes magnetic. It draws in aligned opportunities, healthier connections, and more consistent flow in every part of your life. You're not swinging between burnout and breakthrough anymore. You're stepping into the space where both peace and power exist at the same time. So what's your next big blessing? Relief, clarity, and divine timing, and the kind of balance that lets you become the person your future was always meant to meet. This isn't just a breakthrough, it's a reintroduction to your strength, your truth, and your next level. So that's what I'm getting for pile 2. If this resonated for you, please let me know in the comments, and of course, like and subscribe. See you next time. Hello, pile 3. Welcome to your reading. Let's jump right into it. The energy around you is shifting toward emotional renewal, and not just in a romantic sense, but in a way that reopens your heart to the possibility of softness, connection, and true fulfillment. Love Begins speaks to a fresh emotional chapter, one that starts with vulnerability, openness, and allowing yourself to be supported again. Whether you've been guarded, burned, or simply focused on other areas of life, this next blessing here is to melt those walls, gently, gradually, and with intention. This blessing may start small, like a new connection, a kind gesture, or a meaningful reconnection that stirs something in you. It doesn't have to be romantic at first. It could be platonic, creative, or spiritual, but the essence is the same. Your heart opens. It remembers what it's like to feel seen, held, and emotionally nourished. That feeling is what begins transformation. And as this emotional door opens, you'll feel a kind of clarity around what you actually want to build with somebody. The blessing is not just the person or experience, it's the renewed capacity within you to love again, deeply and securely, without fear. This card brings up something powerful. You've dealt with leadership energy that was distorted, either in others or in yourself. There may have been someone in your past who showed up confident but controlling, inspiring but inconsistent. Or maybe you've been holding yourself to standards of power and productivity that left no room for emotional vulnerability. The blessing now, you're releasing those old models of strength. You no longer equate confidence with dominance or love with authority. You're stepping into a softer version of strength, one that isn't performative, one that doesn't burn itself out trying to impress or control. If this blessing includes a person entering your life, they may challenge your old type. They won't need to lead loudly or command attention. Their presence will feel warm, steady, and grounded. You won't have to guess where you stand. And if this is about your own growth, it's a blessing in how you lead yourself. Less pressure to be the fire all the time, more ease in letting things unfold without pushing. That's where your next chapter of emotional expansion begins, from power that listens, not just acts. There's also a release happening around effort, specifically the kind of effort that's gone unnoticed or unrewarded. You may have been planting seeds in the wrong soil, investing your energy into people, goals, or routines that weren't equipped to nurture you back. This card reversed signals that you're now pulling back from that pattern. You're no longer trying to prove your worth through constant doing. This blessing brings a realignment of value, your value. You'll begin to recognize where your energy is best invested, and more importantly, where it's been wasted. That moment of realization can feel disheartening at first, but it quickly becomes empowering, because now you get to choose where to build from here and who gets access to that space. And what grows next? Something more aligned and more reciprocal. You're learning that you don't need to earn love or opportunity through overworking or overextending. What's meant for you will meet you where you are, especially when you stop giving the best parts of yourself to what doesn't grow. The blessing of balance is front and center here. After emotional highs and lows, extremes in giving and receiving, or constant course correcting, this card says, equilibrium is finally arriving. And not in a forced way, this is natural balance. The kind that settles in when you're no longer pushing against life or swinging between burnout and emptiness. There's also a healing quality in this blessing, not dramatic healing, gentle, daily, and consistent healing. The type of healing that feels like finally exhaling after holding your breath for too long. You'll find yourself saying things like, I didn't realize how much I needed this, or this actually feels right. That's how balance starts to show up, in small, significant moments that bring you to center. And with that balance comes clarity about who you are, what you want, and what you'll no longer tolerate. The energy around you is harmonizing, which means your blessings are becoming more stable too. No more roller coasters, just peace, progress, and emotional alignment that lasts. Emotional hesitancy is still part of this journey. There's a sense of wanting to believe in love, in new beginnings, in magic, but feeling unsure if it's safe to trust it. This blessing doesn't ask you to leap blindly. It invites you to tiptoe back into wonder, to slowly reintroduce yourself to softness, to hope, and to dreams you may have tucked away out of fear of fatigue. This card reverse doesn't mean love isn't coming. It means love is coming carefully. That's a gift, because what's arriving isn't asking for performance or perfection. It's asking for honesty and vulnerability. The kind that says, I'm not sure I know how to do this perfectly, but I'm willing to try. That emotional honesty becomes a blessing in itself. Whether this shows up as a new person, a creative surge, or a softening within your own heart, it's real and it's tender, and it's safe to explore, and you'll always find that the more you allow yourself to lean into it, the more love begins to flow in surprising ways. And this is the full circle moment, emotional fulfillment, a connection or community that actually reflects the love you've been giving to others for so long. This isn't fantasy or false hope. This is the culmination of the inner work, the emotional honesty, the balance, and the surrender. It's the blessing of wholeness, and it touches not just your heart, but your whole life. This could manifest as a romantic union, deepening of family bonds, or the creation of a space, literal or energetic, that feels like home. It doesn't have to look perfect, but it feels right and safe. For the first time in a long time, you've stopped searching for what's next because you're finally present in what's here. That's the biggest blessing of them all, the arrival of a love that doesn't demand but nurtures, a connection that doesn't shake you but holds you, a life that doesn't chase happiness but embodies it. You've earned this peace, and now it's finding its way to you. So what's your next big blessing? An open heart, balanced energy, and real connection. The kind of love in self, in others, and in life that starts softly but settles in deeply. So that's what I'm getting for pile 3. If this resonated for you, please let me know in the comments, and of course, like and subscribe. See you next time.